What you are about to hear is the story of Edward and Clara, a love bound by duty and torn by the demands of a world that won't let them be. In the heart of a Victorian train station, they face an impossible choice that will define their lives forever. The air is thick with the sounds of clattering footsteps, hurried voices, and the rhythmic churning of the steam engine as it fills the Victorian train station with a sense of movement and urgency. Edward, a young man with sharp eyes and a carefully pressed suit, stands on the platform with a distant gaze. He has always been bound by duty. A prestigious career in engineering awaits him in a distant city, a position that could raise him to new heights, bringing pride to his family and securing his future. But at this moment, as he watches the station's constant motion, all he can think about is Clara. Clara steps out from the crowd, her figure bathed in the soft glow of the gaslights illuminating the platform. She wears a simple but elegant dress, her face reflecting both excitement and dread as she approaches Edward. Her family, with their high expectations, has plans for her that she cannot easily escape. She is expected to marry a man of their choosing, a well-off suitor who would solidify her family's place in society. But all of that seems distant now, drowned out by her love for Edward and the pain of their impending separation. As their eyes meet, time seems to slow, and the noise of the station fades into a quiet hum. They come together, their hands finding each other with an urgency born from the knowledge that these might be their last moments together. Clara's hand trembles in Edward's, and he pulls her close, his voice low as he whispers, "I cannot bear the thought of leaving you." They stand in silence for a moment, both grappling with the inevitable. Clara looks up at him, her eyes filled with unshed tears, and says, "Then stay. Let us be together, no matter what they say. I am ready to leave all of this behind if it means we can be together." Edward's heart swells with love, but the weight of his responsibilities presses down on him. He thinks of his family's sacrifices, the years they have invested in his education, and the career that now awaits him. "Clara," he says, his voice choked with emotion, "if I stay, I risk everything they have given me." "And what of your family? Will they allow you to choose a life that defies everything they expect of you?" She hesitates, torn between her love for Edward and her loyalty to her family. They both know that staying together would mean defying the societal expectations that govern their lives, abandoning the future their families have so carefully planned. And yet, as they gaze into each other's eyes, they wonder if they might find the strength to face those consequences together. The train's whistle pierces the air, a shrill reminder of the few moments they have left. Edward pulls Clara close, resting his forehead against hers. He feels her heartbeat, steady yet laced with the same desperation that grips his own. "Tell me to stay," he whispers, a plea for the courage to choose love over duty. But Clara remains silent, fear flickering in her gaze. She knows that if she speaks the words, if she tells him to stay, they may both lose the future their families demand of them. The train's whistle echoes across the platform, signaling that time is slipping away. Edward and Clara cling to each other, their hearts heavy with unspoken words, fears, and an impossible choice that neither wants to make. Clara's fingers tighten around his hand, and she looks up at him, her eyes filled with pain and longing. She wants nothing more than to ask him to stay, but she knows that doing so would mean unraveling everything they've been taught to believe, their duties, their family expectations, the very fabric of their lives. They both know the reality of their world. Edward's position in the engineering company has been secured through connections and sacrifices his family made over the years. His father, a man of honor and tradition, has entrusted him with the responsibility of carrying their family name to new heights. For Edward to throw it all away to remain in a small town for love would be an act of rebellion, a defiance that could break his family's trust forever. Clara's own life is no less complicated. Her family's social standing depends on her marriage to a wealthy suitor, a match that would bring security and status to her family. She can already imagine her mother's horrified reaction if she learned that Clara intended to defy their carefully laid plans for a future filled with love but lacking in the stability they expect. Yet, in Edward's arms, these worries seem distant. Clara brushes her hand against his face, her voice barely a whisper. What if we simply ran away? Started a life somewhere far from here, where no one knows our names, where none of this matters. Her words hang in the air, filling Edward with a mixture of hope and fear. For a moment, Edward allows himself to dream. He imagines a life with Clara, a small, humble home where they could live freely without the demands of duty or the expectations that weigh them down. But then, as the practicalities seep in, he feels his heart break all over again. A life built on escape would mean abandoning their families, disappointing everyone they have ever known. And without his career, how would he provide for them? The train conductor's voice echoes down the platform, announcing the final boarding call. The steam from the train billows around them, swirling in the cold night air, a thick veil that only deepens their sense of isolation. They hold each other tighter, realizing that the moment of decision is upon them. Clara feels her resolve falter, torn between the love she feels for Edward and the life that awaits her without him. Her heart aches as she whispers, "Edward, if you must go, go knowing that I love you with all that I am, that every part of me will remain with you." Her voice cracks, her words coming from a place of pure, raw emotion. Edward's heart shatters as he hears her words, knowing that leaving would mean carrying her love with him, but leaving her behind to face a life she never chose. He wants to stay, to hold her forever, to protect her from the world that demands so much from them. But his duty, the weight of his family's expectations, pulls him in the opposite direction. They stand on the precipice of choice, with only moments left to decide if love will conquer duty or if duty will win over their hearts. The last call echoes through the station, and Edward and Clara stand frozen in each other's arms, knowing that time has run out. Around them, passengers board the train, oblivious to the heart-wrenching choice unfolding on the platform. The steam billows, creating an ethereal haze that seems to swallow the world around them, leaving only Edward and Clara in its mist, their eyes locked in a silent plea for a miracle. Edward's hands cradle her face, and his voice is barely more than a whisper. "Clara, if there were no expectations, no duty, if we could simply choose, I would stay. I would spend every day with you, build a life with you." But he trails off, unable to finish the thought, as the weight of their reality presses down on them. Clara's fingers intertwine with his, her gaze fierce and unwavering. "Then stay, Edward. Let us defy them all. We could live modestly, we would make it work. Don't go." Her voice breaks and tears fall as she realizes what she's asking of him, to abandon everything he's worked for, everything he's been trained to value. But even as she speaks the words, she knows that her own world would not accept this love either. She imagines the scandal, her family's disappointment, the life of struggle they would face together, shunned by society. And the harsh truth is clear. They are not free to choose, not in the world they were born into. With a shuddering breath, Edward leans forward, pressing his forehead against hers. "I will never love anyone as I love you, Clara," he says, his voice thick with emotion. "But I must go for both of us." He kisses her deeply, pouring every unspoken promise and every fragment of his heart into that final embrace. As they part, Clara feels a piece of herself breaking away, carried with him. Her heart is filled with a painful clarity. She understands that true love is not always about choosing to stay, but sometimes letting go. She watches him board the train, their eyes meeting one last time through the window as the train begins to pull away, carrying him toward a life she will never share. The train leaves the station, and Clara remains on the platform, her heart heavy but resolute. She knows she will carry this love with her forever, a hidden strength that will guide her through the life that awaits. And though they are separated, she believes that a part of him will always be with her, woven into her heart, a quiet flame that nothing, not time, nor distance can extinguish. As the steam clears, the station returns to life, passengers bustling about as though nothing extraordinary has happened. But for Edward and Clara, that night will remain etched in their memories, a bittersweet reminder of a love that defied the odds, even if only for a moment.